Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty and today I have an ink lifting technique for you. And this video was inspired because my scrappy friend over at the Scrap Happy community group named Jackie had seen that photo that I posted of projects that I was working on. And she asked very kindly if I would show how to do this. And I said, sure. So here I am today, and I'm going to put a little twist on this version to do a layout instead of a card front. I am working on watercolor paper. I do find that that works best. However, you can test out a small piece of whatever paper that you have at home before attempting a larger project and see if the results make you happy. And I'm using a mixture of Distress Oxide inks and Distress inks. I do like the Oxide inks best for this technique, but I've had okay luck with the regular Distress inks. And you can certainly try it with any kind of water-based ink because you could have some luck with this technique because anything that's water-based will react to the water when you add it to that. And we'll get to that step in just a minute. So here I am with these domed blender tools. Now you don't have to have the domed kind, but a blender tool as opposed to a blender brush is going to work better. And that's just because these foam tools pick up way more ink than a blender brush does. And that'll save you some arm exhaustion in the end because this technique does take a lot of ink. So I'm starting off with this kind of template that I made for myself, which is just a big circle. And we're going to do the ink lifting technique around the outside of this big circle. And then I will create my layout mostly within that big circle. And I want to give you one word of caution here. When you are mixing your ink colors and blending them together, you want to be careful not to mix two inks together that contain all of the primary colors. So green is a combo of yellow and blue primary colors, and of course I've got red there as the third primary color. And if you blend inks with all of those three primary colors together, you're going to get versions of browns and grays. So when I am doing all of my inking on this page, I am careful to only very lightly blend those colors together. And here I'm just taking big swatches and I am covering just kind of random blobs up with starting with red, and then I'll work my way through the blues and the greens, and I try to keep the blue and the green mostly together, but as you'll see later that with only three colors, you're going to inevitably have spaces where the red and the green will meet, and that's where I am just a little more careful with my blending. Now, where blue and red meet, you'll end up with a little bit of purple, so if that's not a predominant color you want, I'd blend those areas lightly also, but of course it's going to depend on what colors you are using. Now, I'm using definitely deeper, more richer colors here because I'm going to tell a Halloween story, and the red and the green are the predominant colors in my photos, and the blue kind of comes from the nighttime sky, so that's why I have those colors chosen. And as I was chatting about colors, I did finish up my colors of background. So the next step in this process is to take a clean foam tool and tap it into a puddle of water. And then you're going to tap it onto a stencil. Here I'm just using a circle stencil. In the original photo, I was using a heart. But wherever you tap this moist foam onto the stencil, it is going to reactivate that ink and lift that ink up. So you do have to be careful in this process to kind of clean up as you go. I'm wiping off my stencil after doing a few inches, and I'm dabbing off my sponge after doing a few inches, and so on and so forth, because these colors will start to mix once they're wet. They'll start running into each other, and again, you're going to end up with that browny gray color that will start coating everything, and you probably don't want that. Now, another thing to take note of is wherever you have too much water, it will seep under the stencil and start creating these halo puddles around. Now, that could be something that you want to get out of this look, and that's totally fine. But if you want more of a clean, crisp stenciling, you're going to have to keep your foam just damp. Don't let it get soggy. And so I did have some areas that were a little too wet, so I purposefully added those to other spots on the layout. And then the next step of this is to add more color through the stencil. So the first part of the stenciling was to lift color away, and the second part of the stenciling is to add more color back on top. And for that, I just used the blue because that blue will fit over any of the areas of my project without making a muddy color. And then finally, I am doing some shadowing here with a darker color of blue, and I'm going both around my circle and around the entirety of the layout, and that's going to start creating this kind of glowy halo effect around that center circle. Then I'm sure to clean up my hands because my fingers are inky at this point, and I am going to reverse this little template that I have, and I'm going to ink inside of that circle also. Now most of this is going to get covered up with my photos. Generally I try to kind of mark off those areas where my photos are going to go so I don't spend the time inking mixed media stuff, but I didn't do that this time, so I end up inking my entire circle. And then as a very final layer of texture, I just splatter clean water onto my project, and that will do some further ink lifting. And here is what it looks like when I'm done. And then I can proceed with the rest of my layout. And really, because this process is about this inky technique, I'm going to just play some music and lead you through the rest of my layout with just adding random embellishments here and there that have to do with the theme of this layout. So that is it for this time around. If you have any questions about this technique, go ahead and leave me a comment and I will get back to you. And if you appreciated or got something helpful out of this layout process, please give me a thumbs up because that does help my channel. And again, I want to thank Jackie for giving me this suggestion, and I was very happy to share that here on YouTube. I will be back later this week with a couple more videos for you, so I hope you'll join me then. I'll see you next time.